Am I the asshole for forcing my roommate to give up being a vegan? I don't like Julie. But rent is cheaper in this apartment complex, and it's even cheaper splitting it with someone while the city we're in is really expensive. I'm 24 female and she's 32 female. She has an aggressive dog. It chewed up too many of my things to count. Barks for 10 minutes straight until Julie tells her to stop. Her dog is territorial and she would growl at me when I try to step into the living room when she's there. So no, the living room is the dog's territory, which means it's Julie's property, so to say. She doesn't do anything about it and just says the dog is still a young puppy and is energetic. Julie is a vegan and she takes a lot room in the refrigerator, and she has a specific space for her face masks. She said that my meat products need to be vacuum sealed to not contaminate her veggies. I told her no, and she can vacuum seal her own shit. She often complains how she barely has money to pay rent every month because her groceries are expensive and raising a puppy is also expensive. I don't help her out simply because I don't like her and I don't care about her. Call me heartless, but I wouldn't mind her getting evicted. These are only tame. She once let her dog into my closed but not locked room when she had a friend over. It was humid and hot day, and her dog pooped on my rug. I came back to the most disgusting smell, and I know she saw the brown poop on my white rug because she let the dog out and closed the damn door back. We had a big fight and she said I was the one who said no one can go inside my room, so she can't go in and clean it. Last month, her dog was in the vet because she's trying a new brand of food. Then they detected something bad in the abdominal and blockage, but the dog is fine after surgery. They made a payment plan and she has to shell out $300 every month towards the bill. She asked me for some money to pay the monthly vet bill and I said no, and she accused me of not loving her dog. I told her that she's right. Before you hate on me, I never liked dogs before meeting her, but I can tolerate living with one for the sake of rent. Julie's now saying I'm heartless. She's gotta betray her belief as a vegan and start eating meat cause it's cheap. I told her there are other cheap vegan options, but she says they're bad for her body and it makes her sick. Not the asshole. Her dog, her vet bill. Also sort of confused, because around here, meat is more expensive than a lot of vegan options, like rice and beans. Not the asshole. You're not responsible for her diet and her pets. If she can't afford both, she's going to have to give one up. The dog is 100% her responsibility and hers alone. The audacity to even ask you to help pay for its bills. You also shouldn't have to spend more money to specialty seal your food when she's the one with the problem. She can deal with the extra costs associated with her stupidity. Don't cave in on any single aspect. People like her need to learn the hard way. Not the asshole. Julie sounds exhausting. NTA, she doesn't sound like a good roommate and you aren't actually forcing her to be vegan. I am vegetarian mostly, and depending on what you eat it can be cheaper than meat anyways, so her statement is also incorrect. Not the asshole. Rice and beans is pretty cheap. Bulk frozen vegetables. Big ass bags of potatoes and onions. Canned vegetables. All pretty damn cheap. No real vegan is going to start eating meat at the drop of a hat like that. Also, no one is ever under any obligation to pay for someone else's pet, regardless if the pet is an asshole or not. I feel like there's a sort of angst around non-dog lovers. I'm not a big fan, but I'm not cruel either. I just wouldn't toss someone a couple $100 for their dog, much the same as I wouldn't toss a human I don't like a couple $100. I'm saying not the asshole because she made her decisions that led her to the point of having a dog and not being able to pay for them, and for choosing a place to live that sounds like didn't really fit her budget. But it's obvious from this post that you hate this woman and therefore should not be living with her. That's not the only cheap apartment out there, and she's not the only roommate you can find. Do yourselves both a favor and find somewhere else to live or someone else to live with. Not the asshole, but definitely put your efforts into getting into a better living situation. Life is too short. Not the asshole. I'm vegetarian and I tell you that Julie is an asshole. She is going eat meat only because she wants you to feel guilty and you shouldn't. She has taken her choices and she is treating you really bad from the first day. And now she wants you to help her? When her dog pooped in your bedroom, I would have taken a photo and reported her to the tenant. Don't worry. She is living a situation she deserves. And, as you say, she can eat cheaper vegan food. Real vegan food is cheaper than meat, but I guess she just want veggie meat. Info. Why haven't you complained to your landlord about how she lets her dog, and how she herself, behaves? Not the asshole. For one thing, the dog probably got sick from something she let it chew up. For another, a vegan shouldn't even have a pet, let alone a carnivore. Not the asshole. You're not forcing her to do anything. She asked me for some money to pay the monthly vet bill. I'd tell her to take it out of the cleaning bill for your shat upon rug, and shove the rest where the sun doesn't shine. But I'm bitchy like that. P. Definitely look for new living arrangements though, Julie. Sounds horrible. Not the asshole, but your title was misleading. She's choosing to no longer be vegan because of financial difficulties. Info. Forgive me for finding your story difficult to believe. Foods such as chickpeas, rice, frozen vegetables, pasta, and tofu are extremely cheap, and can be purchased for even cheaper at discount grocery stores. Unless she doesn't have access to a grocery store, lives in the Arctic, or there's some other unusual circumstance that you haven't mentioned, this seems a little fishy to me. Not the asshole. You aren't obliged to help her. She's making her own choice here by going back to being vegan. As someone who both works with animals and doesn't eat meat, Julie sure is a shitty person. Not only is she trying to force her views onto you, vacuum seal your stuff so it doesn't touch mine when she can vacuum her own shit, and then takes zero responsibility of her dog, you are definitely not the asshole. That dog needs training before it becomes too aggressive and attacks either you or a visitor. Lol, is a vegan with a non-vegan fiancé. Meat is way more expensive. Our grocery bill is much higher when he decides to have some meat. Her dog her problem, not the asshole, and I think you know that? Not the asshole. This whole situation would been avoided if she was considerate and responsible. Here's a favorite recipe of mine. It's actually an old family recipe of a friend of mine. They added hot dogs or sausage to it. It's vegan. And it's as cheap as ramen. Lentil soup. 8 ounces of lentils, 2/3 tablespoon or to taste of finely chopped garlic, 2 small potatoes or 1 larger potato, diced into bite-size pieces, 1 can of tomato paste. Put all that into a big pot with a lot of water. Add salt and pepper to taste. I use a combo of black and red peppers. Cook until the potatoes are softened. I make that recipe all the time. I make a big batch of it and store it in small containers. She can add carrots or other veggies to it, but obviously that increases the cost. But made as I described, it's literally as cheap as packages of ramen. Downvoting this because this is a boring AITA. My roommate sucks in every way it is possible for a roommate to suck. Am I the asshole? This really just feels like fake anti-vegan bait for people to hate read. Not the asshole. She sounds immensely entitled, and her comment about not being able to clean the rug because you don't want anyone in your room clinched it for me. She suddenly respects your space now that her dog has shat in it? Nope. You're not being heartless. She is inconsiderate and selfish and probably doesn't actually want to be vegan anymore and is using you as an excuse to go back to it. And why the hell should you have to pay for surgery for her dog that won't even let you into the living room you pay rent for? I love dogs, but nah. Fuck that noise. You haven't done anything wrong. Everything she complains about in this post is as a result of her own decisions. Not the asshole at all. Her dog, her problem. Not everybody is a dog person. Don't apologize for that. Being around an untrained dog can be intimidating, especially when the owner plays it off as the dog is just playing. I am a big dog person. You have to train the dog at a young age. Otherwise it gets a lot harder to control the older it gets, even harder if it's a big dog. She shouldn't expect anyone else to pay for her vet bills. If you can't afford a dog, don't get one. I am not a vegan or a vegetarian, but my sister is a vegetarian and she has shown me some great recipes for some lovely meatless meals that you can make on the cheap. So her excuse of betraying her beliefs over this sounds like an excuse. NTA at all. F Julie, man, I'd be so passive-aggressive it wouldn't be funny. I would definitely get her evicted. Damn IDK, how you stay. Not the asshole, but wholly toxic living space. I hope you find a different, more compatible roommate soon. Not the asshole, and she is delusional if she believes meat is cheaper than vegan food. My guess is that she's buying a lot of expensive, pre-made foods and meat and cheese substitutes. How did she survive until now not being able to feed herself, as she thinks her only options are frozen Whole Foods meals, I am guessing, or meat. Rice, beans, lentils, chickpeas, many kinds of tofu, and frozen canned veggies make up 90% of my food right now, and they are cheap as hell and also delicious if you put any work in. No reason to feel bad. This person is ridiculous and you should move out ASAP. Not the asshole. I love dogs more than people, but I still think she's the asshole for asking you to help pay her vet bill. And I'm not a vegan, but I rarely eat meat and a high percentage of my meals are 100% plant-based, and she can certainly maintain a healthy diet spending less than she would for meat. You aren't to blame for her choices. She should switch to beans, rice, whole wheat pasta, and frozen veg. These things are not expensive and cost a ton less than meat. Not the asshole. She doesn't know how to train a dog, clearly, and probably doesn't give it near enough exercise. If my dog bares its teeth at my roommate trying to enter the living room, we're going to have some serious training sessions, me and Fido. So she has a dog she can't afford or handle. She has inflicted this dog on you. She has a diet she can't live up to. Rice and beans every night is cheap. She blames you for this. How? You may want to get in touch with the landlords just so they know what's going on. Make sure they know that you are paying your part of the rent and that the dog is destroying things, so they might want to inspect the property. I bet the food that fucked her dog up is some weird vegan dog food. I'm vegan. Have lived with no vegan roommates. I would take care of my own shit if I didn't want it contaminated. Pretty rude to ask you to do that. Sounds exactly like my college roommate. Dirt broke but only bought Trader Joe's vegan items. Constantly complained about money. Got a cat. Could and wouldn't care for the cat. Didn't get the car fixed. Had a hissy fit because it was so expensive to do any emergency surgery on the cat because she was suffering. She also drank wine, not vegan FYI, and was a train wreck. Not the asshole. You have nothing to do with this. I warned my roommate if she didn't quit being a problem I would get her kicked out. Our mutual friend came from an equally poor background and she made vegetarian work just fine as an athlete. Quinoa is a complete protein and cheaper than meat. She's just being manipulative. Edit. Not the asshole. WTF did I just read? Vegetarian, vegan is cheaper than meat. Curry, lentils, beans, rice are all very cheap ingredients. This seems really fake. Eating beans and rice is so much cheaper than meat. This is BS. Not the asshole, but your problem isn't that she's vegan, it's that she's an Info. This story makes no sense. How did her dog get an intestinal obstruction from switching to a different brand of food? Dogs can get diarrhea from switching but not bowel obstruction. Not the asshole. She shouldn't take responsibilities she can't stand. Even worse, asking for help from someone who is almost a stranger and she is already actively demand rules. Not the asshole. She's being manipulative. Veganism can be so cheap. Tell her to eat some damn rice. Not the asshole. Vegan isn't that expensive if you're getting the right stuff. Rice and beans are super cheap and farmers markets have a lot of local cheap produce. Her dog, her problem. Not the asshole. Does she think you're her mom? Not the asshole. Tell the landlord. You're not forcing her to give up being vegan, her shitty choices are. I say this as a dog lover. Fuck her dog and fuck her vet bill. Absolutely 0% of that is your responsibility. Sounds like she's learning a lesson about personal finances and lifestyle choices. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Not your dog, not your diet, not your problem. Not the asshole. That's some bullshit guilt tripping. There are plenty of healthy ways to eat vegan on a budget. And her dog is not your responsibility. Not the asshole. Meat is an extra expense. Tell her the blockage was probably all your stuff the dog has eaten because she doesn't know how to train and control her damn dog. You don't owe her anything, and of course you aren't going to like her dog if she lets it behave like you described. That poor dog. Dear Lord, not the asshole. You should have made her move out a long time ago. Not the asshole. Letting the dog into your room and not cleaning afterwards made it for me. Not the asshole. Julie's got to learn to like rice and beans a lot. Is she buying all that processed stuff over just good veggies, nuts and beans? If Julie wants a certain lifestyle, she has either to make compromises or earn more money.